Welcome to the Nerdstalgic podcast with your host, the Ginger Bookworm. Nerdstalgic with the Ginger Bookworm. Nerdstalgic with the Ginger Bookworm.
Howdy folks, and welcome back to another exciting, fantastic, amazing episode of Nerdstalgic with me, as always, your host Luke. Hope you're doing well, hope you're all good. Let's get into it, shall we? Because we all know we're all good, because the reason we're all good, and the reason we're all excited, and the reason we're all fantastic and happy is because yesterday, as of recording this, it was the Xbox Bethesda game show. I'm most likely going to get tongue-tied, as I was if you listen to the last episode that I did, where I got tongue-tied for the Summer Game Fest. So get ready for that. I'm really, really excited. I'm really hyped. I've slept, had a bit of a chill, but I'm still quite hyped. So hopefully, fingers crossed, this will be a lot more fluid, shall we say, than the last one that was a bit more sporadic. But this one should be fun. So, yeah, Sunday, 6 o'clock, my time UK, the Xbox Bethesda game show started. I watched it in my room with my brother. And we enjoyed it. We thought it was fantastic. We were very hyped. I listed down all the games that were being shown, as I did for the Summer Game Fest. The way I did that one was the fact of I wrote down the list, and then from that list I talk about the ones that I'm most excited for. But to be honest, looking through this list, majority of what was shown, I'm excited for. And those that the others that I'm not so much excited for was only quite minuscule compared to the overall bulk. So instead of doing a separate list, I was just going to keep the list, mention them all, and then I'll just talk about the ones that I actually am interested in. And I would mention the ones I'm not really interested in because I feel like that's a bit more interesting. But before I get into that, one thing I do want to say, one thing that I loved about this show was they were as soon as they showed, I think it was the first two or three games, they came on and they basically said everything you're going to see today is going to be what's going to be coming to Game Pass and coming to Xbox, either Xbox exclusive or Game Pass, in the next 12 months from this day. I was blown away by that. I was like, no way. I know Xbox can do it, but what is it? What are they going to show? So I was just amazed how they said all these games I'm going to talk about now are going to be for the next 12 months. So what I thought I would do, before I get onto the list and the games that were shown, after the show, they released this picture, and it showed all the games coming out this year in 2022 and all the games coming out in 2023. They don't give dates to any of them. They just do them in a list. So what I thought I'd do, in the spirit of the next 12 months of celebration, I will start off getting you hyped. Some of the games that I mentioned here are going to be mentioned on the list. Some of them that I brought up and was mentioned in the Summer Games Fest. But this is just what's coming in 2022, 2023. So for 2022, the games that are coming to Xbox, you've got Nakara Blade Point, that's for Game Pass. Elder Scrolls Online High Isles story expansion. As Dusk Falls, which is a Game Pass exclusive, day one. Forza Horizon 5 Hot Wheels expansion. You got Somerville, which is Game Pass day one. A Plague's Tale Requiem, that's day one on Game Pass. Valheim, that's day one on Game Pass. Warhammer 40,000. Darktide, that's day one Game Pass. Grounded is coming out of preview and is now being a full game. That's obviously going to stay on Game Pass. Fallout 76 Expedition, The Pit, that's day one Game Pass. Overwatch 2. High on Life, that's a Game Pass day one exclusive. Scorn, that's day one. Atomic Heart, which I'm really looking forward to, is day one exclusive. Gotham Knights. Gunfire Reborn, that's a day one Xbox Game Pass exclusive. Persona 5 Royal, day one exclusive for Game Pass. Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. Pentiment, that's a day one Xbox Game Pass. I'm going to get really tongue-tied, I can feel it. Pentiment, Game Pass day one exclusive. Then you got Halo Infinite Season 3. Obviously, that's going to be on Game Pass. Flight Simulator 40th Anniversary Edition. That's going to be on Game Pass. Hogwarts Legacy. Party Animals, which is going to be a Game Pass exclusive. Slime Rancher 2. Game Pass, and then the Callisto Protocol. So that's 2022. Take a breather, take a relax. Right, 2023. Okay, Diablo 4, Redfall, Day 1 Game Pass, Starfield, Day 1 Game Pass, Forza Motorsport, Day 1 Game Pass, Minecraft Legends, Day 1 Game Pass, Ara History Untold, Day 1 Game Pass, Wu Long Fallen Dynasty, Day 1 Game Pass, Stalker 2, Day 1 Game Pass, Flintlock, Day 1 Game Pass. Oh, I can't pronounce this one. Illidan Chronicles 100 Heroes? Maybe? I don't know. That's Day 1 Game Pass anyway. League of Legends, Day 1 Game Pass. League of Legends Wild Rift, Day 1 Game Pass. Valorant, Day 1 Game Pass. Team Fight Tactics, Day 1 Game Pass. Legends of Runeterra, Day 1 Game Pass. Arc 2, Day 1 Game Pass. Resident Evil 4. Persona 3 Portable, Day 1 Game Pass. Persona 4 Golden, Day 1 Game Pass. Replaced, Day 1 Game Pass. Ereban Shadow Legacy, Day 1 Game Pass. Raven Lock, Day 1 Game Pass. Dead Space, The Last Case of Benedict Fox, Day 1 Game Pass. Cocoon, Day 1 Game Pass. All titles targeted to release over the next 12 months. Wow, that's a lot. That's like some of those were what announced in today's show. Some of them weren't. But it's excited. I'm excited. You should be excited listening, because this is what we've wanted from Xbox for a very, very long time. One of the issues with Xbox is the fact that they haven't had many console exclusives. If you look back at the original Xbox and you look back at the 360, there were a lot of console exclusives. They were leading the charge. Everybody agrees Xbox 360 won the console war between PlayStation. Even though I'm going to stand here and say I'm not biased. I love PlayStation. I love Xbox. Granted, I play Xbox more, and I have more Xbox things. But that being said, I will happily play a PlayStation. I'm not involved in this whole quote unquote console war. But that being said, Xbox did win out of PlayStation. I think the Wii was actually most successful out of all of them. But between those two, Xbox 360 won. And then we got to the next generation, which Xbox One, PlayStation 4. And PlayStation won because they had the exclusives, they had the games, they had the draw, they had the reason to keep coming. Whereas Xbox didn't have the exclusive. Every game that they announced was also on PlayStation or also on PC. There wasn't that many exclusives. And the many exclusives they got, even though they were great, were like Halo 5 and Gears of War 4 and Gears of War 5. And great, those games are good. But you have a bigger library than that. And we all wanted Xbox to be like, come on, dip into your library. And they did. And they dip into the library as well as going out and actually getting studios. That's one of the issues they had. They didn't have studios either on their own or working solely on games just for them. They would always share games with PlayStation. So it was like, well, hold on a second. I've already got a PlayStation. I have no reason to go out and buy a brand new game for my Xbox when I can play that same game on my PlayStation. I have no draw to get an Xbox. So when Game Pass came out and they're now buying all these studios and be like, we've got all these studios, we're all working on fantastic games. These are the games they're working on. We're getting console exclusives just for this console. X, Y, and Z, blah, 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 blah. It gives you more reasons. Like, you know what? Game Pass is a deal. And it is. It's one of the best deals in gaming going. And now Microsoft announced, I think it was Saturday or Sunday. No, Saturday or Friday, sorry. That before the big show, that they were doing a partnership with Samsung TV. So any brand new Samsung TV, any newer model, as long as it has smart function and it can connect to the internet and it can get the Xbox app, you could cloud game. So you don't need a console. All you need is an Xbox Live account, Xbox Game Pass, and a remote. That will set you because most remotes are around about 50 quid. If you get the Xbox official remote, that is anyway. Game Pass is about £10 a month. Obviously, the price of the new TV. If you already have the TV, then that's different. If you're buying a new TV, then you're looking, probably a lot of money. But that being said, it's only Samsung at the moment. But even so, in the long run, you're still saving money because it's cloud gaming. The only downside about that is that you do need a good internet connection to do cloud gaming decently. If you haven't got a very good internet connection or live somewhere where your connection is quite shoddy, it's probably not for you. And obviously this technology is still brand new. They're still sort of testing it. That's why they're starting with Samsung. But I believe and I know that eventually what Microsoft will do is like, okay, so it worked with Samsung. Now we're going to release it to LG. Now we're going to release it to. We can even let Sony get in on it. But like, come on, Sony, your TVs. If you got a Sony TV, you can do it. Obviously, they haven't said anything like that. They've just mentioned Samsung, but it's still exciting news of where they're going. And the reason I say all this, and I know I'm meant to be talking about the showcase, but the reason I'm bringing all this up is the fact of Xbox are going in the right direction to be like, look, in the past, we haven't had what you wanted. We haven't shown what you wanted. We haven't done what is in the best interest for you, the gamer. That's what it should be. We forgot about the gamer and we just went to a wider audience. We're now bringing it back to gaming the way it should have been and the way it was. And we're now going to try and win you back, and we're going to do everything the right way. We're going to show you gameplay. We're not just going to show you cinematics. We're going to show you things. We're going to give you things. One of the things that I'm just going to mention here that I was a bit disappointed of with this showcase was that they didn't. What they've done in the prior years since having Game Pass would be like, oh, you like that game? You can now play it today on Game Pass. Or they'll be like, oh, we've got loads of brand new games coming to Game Pass today, and they'd list all the games, and then I'd get excited, and then so I'd watch the show, then go on my Xbox and start downloading these games that I've just seen. Sadly, they didn't do that today, so that's one of the things that disappoint. That's what I was looking forward to. One of the things I was quite hoped for. But that being said, it's not as much of a downer. It's not much as a bummer, because at the end of the day, the show, in my opinion, was pretty good, pretty amazing. But I just wanted to mention that, like, there were no brand new sort of, today, as well, as I say, as of Sunday and as of Monday, there hasn't, when I'm recording this, there is no brand new Game Pass games being added, which is a shame. No, I was kind of hoping as well for more some backwards compatibility, considering that they're sort of in the midst of sort of acquiring Activision, that I was kind of hoping that we'd get a bit more. So like, you like Call of Duty? We're currently in the legal stages, but we've gotten to the point now where we can start adding a few games to Game Pass through Activision. And then they add sort of like, they add all the old Call of Duties in. You can play like from Call of Duty 2 all the way up to, say, Black Ops 2. You know what I mean? Or even the fact of they went deeper into the Activision sort of playpen and did some more sort of games like that. It would have been cool for stuff like that, but I get, the legal stuff, and this is about Xbox and Bethesda. This is about what they're doing. So maybe later on in the year, if they do another sort of Xbox showcase sort of thing, they might show things like that, or they might talk about it, or that stuff might not be ready yet. I don't know. So again, it's just me nitpicking the things that I was hoping to see that we didn't get, but that's completely fine. These things happen, I mean, I can't, like, it's Xbox Bethesda. You had to have feeling that it was going to be a little bit of Xbox, a little bit of Bethesda, and that's it. And if the deal isn't finalized yet, then it's not finalized, so they can't show anything for legal reasons. So I get it. I was just kind of hoping that maybe they could get over the legal reasons, and they agree to something and just show something. But it is what it is. It's fine. But that being said, let's get on to it, shall we? Let's get on to the list. So I'm going to do a separate section so I can have a breather, have a drink, and you guys can relax, because I've been talking for 12 minutes and soon to be 13 minutes now. So I'm going to take a breather, because there's a big list and there's a lot of games to not just mention, but also talk about afterwards. So I'm going to take a quick break, and then we're going to come back. So quick break, come back, have a drink of tea, put the kettle on, and let's get ready for some fun, shall we? Rightio then. So I hopefully feel and hope that you had a nice rest and you had a nice relax, and you've boiled the kettle, had a nice cup of tea, hot chocolate, coffee. I'm not much of a coffee man myself, but if you like coffee, then go for it. Or even a beer, depending on what time you listen. If you feel like getting drunk, by all means, go for it. It's what is it? What do they say? It's 5 o'clock somewhere. So by all means, as long as you're comfortable. So the way I'm going to do this and the way this is going to work is that, as I did for the Summer Games Fest, if you listen to it, if you still haven't listened to that, by all means go back and listen to it. It's not really, really important. I would just appreciate it if you did. And it would help me out, as well as, it helps you understand what I'm going to be doing here and how this is going to work. So if you have listened to it, and I'm going to go off, the assumption that you have, and if you have, thank you. But the way I'm going to do it is that I'm going to list off all the games that were shown. Just mention them. I'm not going to go into huge detail at the moment. I'll just mention what they are, if they show gameplay or it was just a trailer. Majority of these are all sort of gameplay. And then afterwards, I'm going to go through the ones that really took my eye and really sort of excited me. So, without further ado, so to start off with, you had Redfall, then you had Hollow Knight Silk Song, and then High on Life. Riot Games came out bringing all their new titles, blah 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 blah. As you can tell, I'm not excited about Riot. I don't really like them as a studio, let alone their games. But that being said, Plague Tales 2 Requiem, Forza Motorsport, Flight Simulator 40th Anniversary, as well as Halo Pelican free add-on, which that they actually did day one on the Sunday, which was pretty cool. Give me a reason to play Flight Simulator. Overwatch 2, new characters, ARA, see ARA or ARA, I'm not sure how they pronounce it. History Untold, Elder Scrolls Online expansion, High Isles, Fallout 76 expansion, The Pit, Forza Horizon 5, Hot Wheels 3 expansion, Ark. Well, they didn't really give a name. It was just called Ark. So I just put in my notes Ark Vin Diesel because yeah, for some unknown reason Vin Diesel's in it. I still can't figure out as to why, but he is. Scorn, Flintlock, The Siege of Dawn, Minecraft Legends, Lightyear Frontier, Gunfire Reborn, The Last Case of Benedict Fox, As Dusk Falls. Oh god, I really hate this name. Nakara, Naraka, Blade Point. I don't know how to. Nakara, I don't know. Pentiment, Grounded full game release. Ereban, Shadow Legacy, Diablo 4, Sea of Thieves Season 7, Ravenlock, Cocoon, Wo Long Fallen Dynasty, Persona 5, Xbox teaming up with Hideo Kojima, and then Starfield. So that's basically it. Like I shortened it, but that's basically everything that they've shown. Most of it excited me, most of it didn't. So I'm just going to go through the ones that really took my fancy, took my eye, and some of the ones that I'm not really that sort of excited for. So to start off, we have Redfall. I'm quite interested in Redfall. It's made by the same people that made Dishonored, who made Prey. Funny enough, Arcane Studios, the studios behind Redfall, when they announced some of the games that you know them for, they didn't mention Deathloop. Now, I don't know if that's because the game was only released on PlayStation and this was an Xbox showcase, or the fact of that game didn't do very well. Some critics loved it, some critics didn't like it. A lot of players again weren't that didn't really much like it either. Sort of how it was very repetitive, so it's not one of their most recent successes. So it did make me think when they mentioned it was like, oh, are they going to mention Deathloop? And they didn't, and I wasn't surprised. There are many reasons why they probably didn't mention it, but it's one of those things that just made me giggle. I was like, yeah, I can see why they didn't mention it. But Redfall's their new game. It's an Xbox exclusive coming to Game Pass, and my overall thoughts of it is that it looks interesting. It looks cool. It looks like it's one of them games that you have to play with friends, and you do. It's a co-op game, and you're in a small town, and you're taking out vampires. All great. Some of you've got a little robot, and you look like you've got like mystical powers, stuff like that. It looked interesting, but as I said to my brother, it's like you need someone to play this with. This is not a game that you would play on your own. You could play it on your own and probably have a lot of fun, but this is something that you want friends with, because I can feel this game maybe getting a bit boring if you play on your own. Because we didn't see a lot of the story. It just looked like we go from point A to point B. Oh, you've got a vampire nest, kill the vampires. Okay, you've cleared that nest, go to another one. And that's just what it looked like to me from the gameplay that we saw. So if the story is not there to kind of give me a reason to be like, okay, I'm playing on my own, but the story's good enough, I don't mind it, then that's fine. But if on the reverse, on the flip side, where the story's not so strong, and I'm playing on my own, I can see it might be a bit boring. But again, we haven't seen much of the story or haven't heard much of the story yet. But I feel like it's one of them games that to get the best experience, you play with a group of people. So again, I'm going to have to find a group of people, some friends to play. Luckily, it's day one Game Pass, so I don't really have to convince people very hard. I can just say, it's on Game Pass, you have Game Pass, let's try it out. That's one of the upsides of Game Pass, is the fact that a lot of people, especially back in the 360 days, like you wanted to play a game with your mate. If your mate didn't have it, you had to try your best to convince them to spend money and buy it. Whereas with Game Pass, you don't have to convince them of anything. You just say, well, it's free. You know, you've got Game Pass, it's free. Might as well give it a go. You haven't lost anything. You know. So what else? High on Life, which was made by Squanch Games, they made the what was it called now? It was on the Xbox. What was the name? One second. Sorry about that. I had to go have a quick Google because my mind went blank. They made the VR game Accounting, which you haven't played it. It's only a short game, but it's a funny, silly game on the VR. But they made that, and then they also made what you might know them for, which is Trover Saves the Universe, which is now on Xbox, which I've got it on my list, and hopefully one day I'll get round to playing that game. But this is made by Squanch Games, the people behind Solar Opposites and Rick and Morty. It looks silly. It looks like the guns have faces on them, and the guns talk to you. And there was a knife that was like, "Hi, I'm Knifey," and then you stab. It's like stab, stab, stab. And I was like, "Oh, this is great." It was like a fever dream. It was like what it would be like if you was on LSD. Not that I would know, you know. Anyway, but it's one of those sort of games that just looks like it's straight out of Rick and Morty. And even my brother was, I hope Rick and Morty pop up, because I don't think Rick and Morty would pop up. But it's one of them worlds that looks, the way it looks and the art style is a lot like, you know, the Rick and Morty, that I wouldn't be surprised if this wasn't in the same universe as Rick and Morty, because it just has that same look and feel, as well as being, it has that look and feel of Rick and Morty, but in a AAA shooter. It's very strange. It's one of the things you have to see. Like my explanation, the way I'm explaining it, doesn't do it justice. It is pretty much like an LSD trip. It just looks fantastic. I love it. But I love wacky, crazy games like that. Like anything that I can have a laugh. I can shoot things and laugh and have a bit of a giggle. Always a winner in my book. Always, constantly a winner. So High on Life, that's interesting. One of the things that I didn't like, Riot Games, I'm not a fan of Riot Games. I won't really get into it, but they have really bad sort of practices, and you know they have very sort of bro, how can I say, bro culture. You know, very much it was like, oh bro, and there was a case of people farting in each other's faces, and you know, being very sort of inappropriate to women and that sort of things. I don't really want to bring the mood of the podcast down, but I don't like Riot Games because all that was the history, and a lot of the people that did all those things and worse are still at the company. So I don't like them, and I can't support anything they do, let alone their games, in my opinion, are shit. So when they were announced, I was, oh god, you know, I'm a bit sort of deflated. But yeah, so they're bringing all their stuff to Game Pass, which is a bit magoo. Plague Tales Requiem 2. I haven't finished Plague Tales 1, but I enjoyed what I saw. I don't know if I will complete it, if I'm being honest, mainly because it's one of them games that I don't mind sneaking around, but it just, even though the story was interesting and the world was beautiful, I don't know, it was just the whole sneaking around part just really sort of slowed me down too much, and I was like, yeah, I want to play something more fast, and I have been meaning to go back to it. I think it's still on Game Pass, so I have been meaning to go back to it, but I haven't as of yet. I might do, I might not. It depends how if the reviews come out and they're really, really good for this game, the second one, then you know I might go back and complete the first one, and then you know go play the second one. But the second one looked interesting. I don't have really a lot to say about it, mainly because I didn't really complete the first one. But as from the looks of it, it continues on the story, so it looks interesting. Forza Motorsport, I've been waiting for this one for ages. They announced this like 2-3 years ago. But I've been really, really excited for Motorsport. Anybody who knows me, they knows that I love a racing game. I love kart racing. I love Forza Motorsport, like sandbox racing. But, you know, I also love my track racing as well. I love racing on tracks. And I like playing dirt, even though I'm not a rally sort of guy. I love playing dirt. I tried to play Dirt Rally. I couldn't do it. That was too simulaic. You know, that was too much like a simulation. So I just played Dirt instead, which is still kind of simulation, but a bit more sort of loose in terms of if you make a mistake, it's not so bad. Where you make a mistake in Dirt Rally, it's more of a big thing, big problem. But I love my racing games. Any sort of racing games I'll play. The only sort of racing game I can't really get into is F1. That's just the way it is. So I was waiting for a long time for Forza Motorsports. One of the reasons, you know, you get an Xbox, in my opinion, you get it for the Halos and for Gorgeous, but like you want the beautiful racing games, you want Forza, and finally we're getting a brand new Forza. It looked beautiful. You know, the detail on the gold leaf um, on the turbo, on the I think, is it the turbo or is it the manifold? Can't remember. But the gold leaf on there, you got the chrome, and you've got the ray tracing, you've got the realistic damage. So when you hit somebody, you can see each individual paint flecks coming off the bodywork. It looked gorgeous. The detail was amazing. I'm really looking forward to it. Even though we didn't like it was what we saw was all in engine. It was all gameplay, so we haven't seen actual proper racing on the track and how it would look. And obviously, the stream was only in 1080p. It wasn't in 4K, so we wasn't as good quality as it would be when you see it. But for what we saw in 1080p, 60 frames, it looked quite beautiful. It looked quite gorgeous. I wish it was coming out this year. I really, really do. I was kind of hoping that at the end of it, they'd be like, it's coming out this year in October or November. And I was like, yeah, but no, it's coming out next year. Bit disheartened there, but at least it's coming. At least now we know it's coming. For a long time, they've teased and they said they're working on it, but they've got nothing to show. So finally, they finally showed something about it. Sort of scrolling on ahead, moving down a bit. We've got Elder Scrolls new expansion. I couldn't really get into Elder Scrolls Online. Elder Scrolls Online, I tried to play, couldn't really get into it. Again, that's one of them sort of things where you need people to play with, and if you have no one to play with, it gets, it's not as fun in my opinion. It's like, even though it's like Oblivion and it's like Skyrim, those games I don't mind because they're built for single player. They're built for single player immersion. Whereas these games aren't built for single player immersion. They're built for you and your crew, you and your squad to play together. So I couldn't really get into it. Fallout 76 expansion, that's free on Game Pass. I gave it a go. Another game I couldn't get into. Even though it was Fallout, I just couldn't get into it. I don't know if it was because I knew all the things that had gone through, like, because I played it when it came onto Game Pass, because I knew I wasn't going to pay for the game, because of all the backlash of it and all the things and all the lies and the 16 times the detail and all that. That was I'm not I don't want to play it. So when it came on Game Pass, I thought, you know what? It's on Game Pass. It's free. I'm not really going to lose out. I'm give it a go. And again, it was one of those. I don't know if it was because I knew all the backlash the game had, or what. I wasn't sold on the game at all. Like, I just was like, I'm not into it. And again, that's another game that you play with friends. I thought if I had people to play with, again, maybe. But this Expedition Pit, it might be good. It might be. Again, if I can get some people together, again, maybe go back into it and play. But I've played Fallout 3. I played the Pit expansion from Fallout 3. I've experienced that story there. Do I really need to go back into 76 and play a newer version? Same area, just newer graphics? Not really. Because Fallout 3, yes, it's still a bit rough, but if you play it on the Xbox Series X, or if you play it on an Xbox Series S, where it's backwards compatible and it's upscaled, it looks still quite decent and it plays still quite decently. So I'd rather play Fallout 3's expansion of the Pit than play 76. But again, that's just how I feel. Some people might disagree. Some people might be very like, yeah, go on, I'm going back in the pit, So it's all down to how you feel. Next was Forza Horizon 5. I love myself Forza Horizon, as I mentioned. I love any sort of racing game. This one is the Hot Wheels expansion. They did this, I'm sure they did this for Forza Horizon 3. I don't know if they did it for Forza Horizon 4. I know they did Lego for Forza Horizon 4, which was really, really fun to drive around in little racing cars, Lego racing cars, which was great. But I don't know if they did it for Horizon 4, but I'm glad they're bringing it back for Horizon 5. It looks like a whole completely new map, a new area. So that looks fun. That's interesting. That might be one that I would look into getting in terms of, because it's not free on Game Pass, sadly. That one, I think you have to pay for that expansion. So I might wait till it goes on sale, but it looks interesting. It looks good. My brother got excited when he saw it. What else? Scorn. This game. Right. So this game, if you know about, if you're aware of H.R. Geiger, if you're aware of this Swiss artist and his art, and if you're aware of Aliens and the way the Necromorphs are designed and the way that the Prometheans, the engineers' ships are designed and the way they look, and if you know his work of Friedrich Kun or Necronom 4. I've just got an image here right now on my tablet of, like, if you just search HR Geiger, then basically you know of his artwork. His artwork was insane, and I love it. I think it's creepy. I think it's weird. It's very Necronomicon sort of stuff. It's gorgeous. But this whole game, Scorn, is like a HR Geiger wet dream. Best way. I know it's very disgusting, but this game is disgusting. You know, it's very gory. It's very dark. They were like, there was a weapon that looked like it was made out of a rib cage, but there was also arms and tiny little hands clapped around like what would be your ammo, I'm guessing. The monsters, the creatures, they were grotesque. They were like something out of The Descent. You know, this game just looks like a wet dream for HR Geiger. If you've got aliens and you got his artwork and you got the xenomorphs are not in it, but like the art style is basically pretty much the same. That this game is just incredible, and my brother was just disgusted. He couldn't believe what he was seeing. Neither could I, but I was on the height of, I can't believe what I'm seeing, but I love it. You know, it looks disgusting and I like it. You know what I mean? I'm weird. I just like HR Geiger. I love his artwork. And I'm a big fan of the Alien series and the Xenomorphs and the engineers and all that. I love all the architecture. So that kind of stuff for me is just fantastic. So when this game was announced a long time ago, I was on board, and then to finally get some gameplay as well as actually to see what this world looks like. Chef's kiss, beautiful, amazing. Another game, I haven't got really much to say about it, but it took excited me. Flintlock: The Siege of Dawn. That looked really, really interesting. More Minecraft, which my brother was kind of excited about, but again, it was more sort of like, oh, Minecraft looks beautiful. And then when we saw the gameplay, it was like, oh, this looks a bit boring. But Minecraft's not really for me anymore. Like, I'd still play it every now and then, but it's not for me. It's for kids now, you know, which is a shame. That's what it's targeted to. That's what it feels like. Minecraft's targeted to kids now, even though adults can still play. I'm not saying you can't play it if you're not an adult, but it just feels like it's more targeted towards kids now. Ever since Microsoft bought it, but that's fair enough. You know, like, you've got to find a market. You've got to corner that market. You've got to get as much money out of that market as possible. And they know their market. They know it's kids, and that's what they're cornering. And that's completely understandable. You know, I get it. What else? What else? You've got the last case of Benedict Fox. This looked like something like Cthulhu. This looked like H.P. Lovecraft. It was a side-scrolling detective, dark sort of game, and the reason I remember it so vividly was because the art style and the creatures looked like something out of H.P. Lovecraft. It looked really spooky. It looked creepy. It looked weird. Again, I like H.P. Lovecraft. It's that sort of vein. Cthulhu. I love it. I'm there for it. What else we got? Pentiment looked quite silly. I played a game like Pentiment quite recently. I can't remember the name of it, but the game that I played was kind of like a point-and-click adventure in the vein of a Monty Python sort of sketch. It's on Gamepass. If I remember the name, I might mention it. No, I can't remember it. No, yeah, I just had to pause there to try and remember it. I think it's like Confederacy, or I can't remember. But it's a really, really fun game. An easy 1,000 gamer score. If you from just playing the game, and there's a few sort of missable achievements, but it's not that hard of a game. It's quite fun, to be honest. And there's loads of multiple different endings. It's quite funny. But this Pentiment kind of reminded me like that. This was made by a small team at Obsidian Entertainment. But I love the art style, and I think it's coming day one to Game Pass. So I look forward to playing that one when it comes out. Grounded, full game. Grounded was another game that I tried playing on my own. But because it was only in preview, I couldn't find the story. I tried to find the story. It's kind of like reminding me of Subnautica. I enjoy Subnautica. I played Subnautica 1 and I completed Subnautica 2. But it's one of those where it was like, I was trying to find the story, and I feel like, again, if you play with a group of people, even if you don't find the story, it's just still fun to be walking around with your friends, like very much of Honey and I Shrunk the Kids. But again, had no one to play with, so I was like, I played it. It was interesting, but it's going into full game release now, so that should be interesting. See if I can, maybe join somebody's party online and see if I can anybody play with. I've never been big into Diablo. I remember I played Diablo 3 on the 360. I played the demo. It was very interesting, but I was never really interested in the Diablo franchise. But looking at Diablo 4, that interests me. That looks quite kind of good, so I might check that out. But they did say when they were talking about it, like that this is the culmination of all of the whole story that they've been building up for, from like Diablo 1 all the way up to this one. So I probably won't go back, and I probably won't jump into this straight away. I'm more than likely I'll go onto YouTube and I'll find like a lore video that will basically break down the story to me, so that by the time I get back, when I start at Diablo 4, when I do get around to it eventually, that I won't be as lost and I know what I'm doing. Maybe that's heresy. You know, maybe it's not the best thing to say because most people are like, oh, you've got to go from the beginning, but I don't want to. You know what I mean? I would much rather just jump straight in and enjoy it for how it is. But there's that. You got Sea of Thieves Season 7. Again, another game that I wanted to play because I love pirates and I love the Pirates of the Caribbean. And I love the whole idea of the set sailing and Assassin's Creed Black Flag and all that. I enjoy that kind of stuff. But again, had no one to play with. But again, it's a game that I'd love to give a go one day. Ravenlock looked quite good. It was very much Alice in Wonderland type game. So that one kind of fascinated me. A game called Cocoon looked somewhat interesting. Got Wolang Fallen Dynasty. I didn't really know much about it. Got Persona 5. To be honest, I didn't even know it was Persona until it ended. I was like, I don't know what this is. Even I was looking at my brother, like, do you know? And he's like, I don't know. But yeah, Persona 5. And then Xbox teaming up with Hideo Kojima. Now this one, I gotta take a drink of water for this one. Right. This one feels like, again, I'm just going to reiterate, I'm not about Xbox is better than PlayStation or PlayStation is better than Xbox. I'm not about that whole thing and the whole console war. I said it at the beginning and I'll reiterate it now. I'm not about the console war. That being said, right, it's not a but that being said, right, when they announced that they were working with a visionary designer and creator, straight away I knew who they were talking about, because he is the most popular game developer of them all. You know, and they've already got like Todd Howard and other sort of developers on the in Xbox team, so they can't be talking about them. So it had to be Hideo Kojima. So when Hideo Kojima came out, it was kind of funny because when he came out, like I was hyped. Like I had literal rose tinted glasses. I was hyped. I was like, wow. It felt like a slap in the face of PlayStation. It really did, because PlayStation have had him for so long that it felt like a slap in the face. But I had a feeling, and I heard rumbling. It was only rumbling, but I heard rumblings a while ago that Hideo Kojima was on about sort of teaming up with Xbox, doing Xbox exclusive. If I remember correctly, I remember that rumor came out, but then Kojima Productions came out and basically said this is not true. We're not doing it. But that was ages ago. That was months ago. I think that was actually last year when I heard it. But for it to be sort of announced now, which is great. One of the funny things about this is the fact of Hideo Kojima. I'm going to break it down to bullet points. Xbox announces they're working with Hideo Kojima. Hideo Kojima comes up, says he's working with Xbox. Hideo Kojima talks about a video game. Hideo Kojima doesn't show any gameplay. Hideo Kojima doesn't show any hints of what the game will be. And then Hideo Kojima leaves. And then I get excited. That's basically, he came, he talked that he was working with Xbox. He said that he wanted to work on a game that he wanted to do. He said it was going to involve Xbox cloud streaming. And then he left. No hint of what the game will be. No inkling of anything. Just, I'm working with Xbox. It's to do with cloud gaming. That's it. And having like a day since it happened, it seems a bit sort of more funny. Like the rose into the glasses have come off, and it's a lot more like I'm still excited, and it is still very much in my eyes a slap in the face to PlayStation. But it's also quite funny, the fact of he came, he said little, and we all got excited. That just kind of makes me giggle. But I am excited to see what he does. Like I would be happy, even though I know that Death Stranding, for majority of the first part of the game, is a walking simulator. It's a delivery game. You deliver packages from one part to another. But I've heard from people that have played it, completed it, that that's only a small part, and that once you get past that, the game opens up and becomes very sort of weird and wonderful. and I would happily play Death Stranding on the Xbox. And that's what I thought they were going to say when they saw Hideo Kojima. I thought he was going, "I'm working on a new game with Xbox, blah blah blah." But while you wait, here's Death Stranding. That's what I was like in my mind when that's the sort of thoughts I was having in my mind when it was announced. I'm like, okay, is he going to say Death Stranding is coming to Xbox Game Pass today or soon, and then we can play it, and then that's kind of tied us over. It didn't happen, but that's the way my brain was working. But I look forward to seeing what he does next with Xbox. I look forward to seeing what he brings to Xbox. Like he Death Stranding, say what you will, that game still was very highly sort of enjoyed by a lot of people. It's very strange and weird. Metal Gear Solid, again, world class. People love it. People enjoy it, and they love his work. And I love his work, so I look forward to seeing what he does with Xbox, what he can do with the Team Xbox, and what he can do with Xbox's cloud systems. I'm really, really excited, but there's not much to say. I'm just excited. And then finally, to end it all off, we have Starfield. This is a game that they've been working on for a long, long time, and that they've been talking about, and that they've been sort of hinting at, but they've never shown till now. All they've mentioned say, "Oh, we're working on it," but that's it. There has been leaks for the past few years. There have been leaks here and there of the way that's going to work in old models and old builds and old UI systems, stuff like that. And I've been keeping on top of it as much as possible. And it was just incredible to finally see this game, how it looked like Mass Effect and Star Wars mixed in with No Man's Sky, had a baby. This is their love child. The game very much feels like a Bethesda game, as well as it looks and feels like, Obsidian's Outer Worlds. I look forward to it. One of the things one of the things that when I was watching it, I was hyped. The characters and the space battles and the character design, and how I could design my own ship, and how that I could do character traits, and I could fully from the ground up build my character, build my spaceship, I could people that I meet in the world. I can get them and recruit them to be on my crew so that I can have my own spaceship, my own sort of like Starship Enterprise sort of thing, if I want. And there's loads of planets, and I can land anywhere on the planets. And it just looked amazing, and it still is, and I'm still hyped, and I'm still excited. The thing is, I'm worried because they said this with Fallout 4. They said Fallout 4 was going to be, amazing. It's going to have all these features. And Fallout 4 was amazing, and I love Fallout 4. I've had many good times with Fallout 4, but it wasn't what they said. A lot of the things that they said were going to be there weren't there. Fallout 76, again, Todd Howard comes out, says it's like 16 times the detail. Best game we ever made. Incredible. It's going to have this, it's going to have that. Game comes out, hardly has any of it. The 16 times the detail doesn't matter because the game doesn't work, you can't see it. I've played, like I said, I've played a bit of Fallout 76. And I can't see that 16 times the detail. I can't see the extra details that they said they've added in. It still looks like Fallout 4, but also the fact of we had No Man's Sky. We had Sean Murray come out and goes, "Oh, you can do this, you can do that," and there's going to be like 20 quadrillion, trillion, billion planets, and you can go to all of them, but you might never find them all. But there's planets to discover, and you can scan things, and you can mine. And this is kind of what you can do. Like that, Todd Howard said that there was like 1,000 planets, and you can visit them all, and all of them are different, and you can mine them, and you can build bases, and you can do all that. And like it all sounds great. It all sounds fantastic. And if they can do it, great. But I am just worried the fact of, can they do it? You're like, is like, for example, say 5 of the planets, the story planets that you go to, have those features, but the other 995 planets are all sort of rocky water planets or gas giants. Because they say you can go to every planet. Okay, fine, I can go to every planet, but is every planet, each one of them 1,000 plus planets, not including the story, not including the story planets that you got to go to. If I find a random planet that no one's been to yet, am I going to go find anything on that planet that's actually worth it? Is there going to be story beats? Is there going to be like side mission stuff? So like kind of like Oblivion, where it's like I went off the beaten track and I found myself being indoctrinated into the Thieves Guild. You know what I mean? Is it going to be like that where I find a planet and I find like I do like a Star Trek thing where I find a race of aliens that have never been discovered before, and can I make contact with them? Again, they haven't said anything like this. It's more just the fact of this is just me sort of adding on things. Like they haven't mentioned any of this stuff. This is me just hyping and sort of theorizing. But the reason I'm doing that is simply put, it's all well and good having these say 1,000 planets, but if they're just rocky planets, if they're planets that have nothing on them, like I'm only going to go there to mine, then what's the point? You know what I mean? What's the point going to this planet if the planet is like, oh, this is all well and good going to this planet, but it's mostly water and there's just one little island that I can land on, but I can't go into the water planet because the game won't let me because my ship gets destroyed and I can't swim because of X, Y, and Z. Or if I can do that, can I find loads of underwater giant sea monsters? You know what I mean? Kind of like Subnautica. Again, this is just me theorizing, but the point that I'm trying to make is the fact of it's all well and good having this scope and having all these planets and X, Y, and Z. But if there's nothing on them planets, if they are just rocks, which, in all fairness, if we're looking at the real world situation, if we look at being realistic and the way the world is today and the way the universe is, majority of planets are just rocks. You know, so, like, as we haven't found any as of yet, but majority of the planets that we have found that are not in the Goldilocks zone are mostly rocks, which is fair enough. Like, you know, I get that, but this is not real life. You know, this is a video game, so it's still the fact of I want something. Like if I'm gonna go find this planet that nobody's been to before, I want to sort of have something different. I want to be like, yeah, I went to say like Proxima 24b, and I named it that, and like I found that planet, nobody had found it. I named it. I called it Proxima 24b. It's my planet. And when I was there, I found an ancient race that had been wiped out, and I could learn about them, and they had tribes, and they were quite sophisticated. And I decided I'm going to, because I decided I would name them the engineers, for example. And then if somebody in like 2 years' time travels to my planet and finds, oh, this planet was discovered by Luke, and Luke called it this, and Luke discovered these this old sort of ancient race, and he called them engineers, and he now has a mining operation on the other end of the planet, and he's got loads of money, and he just mines that part of the planet, but he's left this part of the planet to preserve the history. You know, if stuff like that, like the No Man's Sky sort of esque, where it's like you find a planet that hasn't been found before, you discover it, it's your planet, you can name it, blah 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 blah. Again, they haven't mentioned anything like this, but that's just where my brain goes, is the fact of it's all well and good having all this scope and have all this stuff and saying all this stuff, but I'm trying to bring my hype down because I got excited for No Man's Sky, and then No Man's Sky came out, and it was complete deflation. I never bought No Man's Sky when it first came out, and what I've been told and what I've heard, No Man's Sky is a lot better game now than it was at release, which is perfectly fine. I'm not here to dog on No Man's Sky. I'm just saying, in terms of Starfield, I'm worried that Todd's come out and he said, "Oh, we can do this and we're gonna do that, and the game's gonna be like this and it's gonna have that." I'm like, "Oh, it's all well and good saying that, but is it gonna have that? Am I going to be able to go to these 1,000+ planets, and every planet I go to find something different? You know, is it going to procedurally generate? Am I going to find the same life on 20 other different planets in 20 other different star systems? You know what I mean?" That's what worries me. It's all well and good looking at it on the surface and be like, "Oh, this is amazing," but basically, I'm holding out hope. I'm holding out hype. I don't want to get overhype it and be like, "Oh, the game's going to have this. The game's going to be like, it's going to be like Star Trek. It's going to be like Star Wars. It's going to be like Mass Effect." I don't want to do that to myself because I've done that to other games before in the past, and I've been let down profusely. One of the good things about this, it's coming out day one on Game Pass, so I don't have to spend money. So even if I do get to the point where I overhype myself and I play the game and it's not what I thought, or it's not what they told us it was going to be, at least then it was like, you know what? It's not what I thought it was going to be, but in all fairness, it was free. I got it on Game Pass. I didn't have to pay for it. I can let it slide, you know. Whereas if I had to pay for it, then I'd be pissed off and upset. But you know, I'll hold out hope. But for now, I'm excited to see what Starfield will be. I'm looking forward to the characters and the story and the world. I'm excited. But for what they do. I just hope it is what it is. You know what I mean? I hope that what they've shown is what it is. You know, that's my only hope. But that's it. That's all she wrote. That's the list. That's all the games that they announced, all the games that sort of interest me and fascinated me. And yeah, I'm going to go take a break now. And after this break, come back and we're going to give overall thoughts, and then we're going to end it quite nicely. So again, refill on the tea, refill on the water, or whatever you're drinking. Let's get back into it afterwards, shall we? So that was a lovely break, wasn't it? Well, I had a nice break. I don't know about you guys. Let myself calm down, let myself relaxed to get in the mood for overall thoughts. So it's a lot more calm, a lot more chill. Welcome to my ASMR session where I talk very softly, very calmly, very slowly to you today. No, it's not slow and it's not calm. It's erratic and crazy. Because that's how I roll, and I'm weird. Anyway, my overall thoughts and feelings on the showcase was, as I mentioned at the beginning, I loved it. I thought it was great. You know, not every game that was shown blew me away, and I wouldn't expect every game to, because at the end of the day, it's Game Pass. You know, the whole part of this, it's about Game Pass. It's about games. It's about story. Not story. It's about what comes next in terms of Xbox. You know, for people who want to play the casual games, who people want to play the not so casual games. So you got like the Riot games, so the people that want to play competitively. You got people that want to play with friends, so you got Sea of Thieves, and people who just want to play on their own. And you've got games like Scorn, stuff like that. You know, so it was just something there for everything. And it was there for kids, with the Minecraft as well. Different demographics, different people, different likes. So I didn't expect myself to like everything, but I love majority of the stuff that was shown. And like I said, majority of it is coming out day one on Game Pass anyway. So I will give Minecraft Legends a go, because again, even though I'm not interested in it, it's free. It's there. Might as well give it a go. If I don't like it, I can just uninstall it, and I haven't gained anything. I haven't lost anything. Again, I'm not missing out. You know, so there's a lot of games here. Looking at my list again, that fill in that gap of like, well, I've got nothing to play. I haven't got much money. Don't we want to spend anything on any new games? I'll check out what's on Game Pass. Oh, this game's been recently added. I'll give it a go. So from what was shown, I was excited. I look forward to seeing what they do with Redfall and Starfield and Plague Tale Requiem, even though I wasn't a big fan of the first one. And I look forward to see what they do with Forza Motorsport and Scorn and all the other games that they announced. I'm just going through the list now, looking quickly at the games that sort of interest me. But yeah, overall, I enjoyed it. One of the things that I was disheartened me was the fact that there was no Activision sort of presence in terms of, even if it was just as small as, like I mentioned at the beginning, where it's just like, oh, we're now adding some older or newer Call of Duties to Game Pass. To get you ready for Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, that's going to be released this year. We're going to release the Modern Warfare, all the Modern Warfare series, including the latest Modern Warfare, the remake, on Game Pass today, that sort of thing. I was kind of hoping for that kind of stuff, or more older Activision stuff. One of the things that excited me the most about the Activision deal was, I'm a big fan in backwards compatibility. I did a whole episode on make game preservation, that makes sure each games can be played on modern genre. Like, you can do it with PC. I don't like forgotten hardware. I don't like forgotten games, lost hardware, lost software. Whereas a lot of games have pretty much gone to the wayside now. The only way to get them is if you find that, if you torrent them, and or if your friends have them, that sort of thing. I don't even bad games. Games that should be forgotten. I still think, like, it's still part of game history, that you should preserve it. So I quite like backwards compatibility, and like I said, I put a whole episode on it that you can find on here if that's something that interests you. But one of the things that excited me about the Activision deal was, Activision has a lot of companies that they've absorbed and dissolved and put them into doing other things, mostly Call of Duty. But they've done a lot of work with a lot of companies, and they've got a lot of IP that I was just look forward to the fact of, well, hopefully they could be like, now that this deal with Activision's come in, we can start putting more games into backwards compatibility. You can play them now. You can play them on Gamepass and or Call of Duty, that sort of thing. Things like that. It was what I was excited for. It was what I was hyped for. What I was hoping to get. We didn't, sadly, but again, it's not so bad. I understand the legal side of it. Again, I was excited and I was hoping to see stuff about Fable. I had a feeling we probably wouldn't hear about Fable, mainly because I've heard rumbles that the development's a bit shaky, that development isn't going so great for it. Playground Games, the people that made Forza Horizon, it's a bit rocky at the moment. So that's what I've heard. So I didn't feel like we're going to see it, but it would have been nice for at least a new cinematic trailer, or even just a little bit of concept art and a bit of gameplay, or just something, because we know it exists. We know it's real because they've showed us like a cinematic trailer for it. But still, I just I want a bit more. I just want to see a bit more. That's all. Or just a bit, even just a bit of story. What happens next? This is going to be a reboot of Fable. We know it's an Albion, but who's the characters, what's the story, that sort of thing. So I just wanted a bit more in terms of Fable, but considering there were only two big things that I wanted, the whole Activision thing and Fable, I think I got quite enough, more than enough, if I'm being honest. So I liked it. Like I said, overall it was good. But that's it. That's all she wrote at the end of the day. That's my thoughts and feelings on the Xbox showcase. I've heard rumblings that they might do another one either on the 14th or the 17th, which is going to be like an extended one, which I do remember seeing that, but I've looked everywhere and I can't find any mention of it, so maybe I just dreamt it. But if they do announce another one, I will sort of talk about it and do another episode. But for now, that is all she wrote. That is the end of the Summer Game Fest. I think for the rest of this week, that I think they will be a few more. Like PC Gamer was last night. I'm not really big into PC gaming, but PC Gamer was last night, and I think a few of us are coming this week. I can't remember. Like when the thing is, when E3 wasn't this year. Usually E3 is this time of year, but E3 they skip this year. They come in next year. And what it used to be, E3 would list all the companies. So it would be like PlayStation's this day, then Xbox is this day, then Square Enix is this day, and then try to think. Bethesda was this day, and Nintendo was this day, and PC Gamer was this day. But ever since E3 is not this year, like there's no real sort of list anywhere that I could find where it was like this is on this day, this is on this day. It was just the fact of it all depends who you follow on Twitter, and if you know when the days are and you know when the times are, great. If you don't, well, you miss it. Catch up on YouTube later. But as I know as of now, this is all in terms of the things that I'm interested in. But if Xbox does come out and say we're doing an extended look, or we're doing another smaller showcase talking about sort of other things, then hopefully, potentially, that could mean Fable, or that could mean Activision. But again, I don't want to put any hype into anybody's wind into anybody's sails or anything like that. I generally what I think of what I'm sure I heard, but I'm not entirely sure that it was real because I can't find it. But yeah, so if that doesn't happen, then this is the end of it for me, and then we'll go back to normal soon. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed doing this special. It's definitely something I would do next year. I just like talking about video games. This podcast, this thing that I do is not just for gaming. Like I said, I talk about all things nerdy and all things old-fashioned. Talk about movies and books and all that. But I like just talking about video games at times. It's nice to talk about one of my biggest hobbies. And just my love for it. And I'll be honest, this episode was pretty good. I didn't get tongue-tied, which was great. But that is all she wrote. That's everything. Again, what do you think? Do you like all the games that they shown? Do you disagree with me on some things? But whatever it is, if you agree or disagree, if you like it, if you don't like it, or if you just want to tell me that I'm great, or if you want to tell me that I suck, whatever. Make sure that you follow me on Twitter at Nerdstalgic_pod. You can find the Nerdstalgic podcast on Spotify, on Anchor, and Google Podcasts, and Amazon Music Podcasts. You can also now find me on YouTube. Just type in the Nerdstalgic podcast and look for my flaming face, and you'll find me there. I'm currently in the midst of uploading older episodes to it. So if you listen to this on the 14th of June 2022. There's not many episodes there, but if you listen to this in the future, then by all means there should be loads of episodes on there now that you can catch up on. And so if you don't have access to Spotify or Anchor or Google Podcasts and all that, then by all means you can hop onto YouTube. It's free. Don't even need to make an account, and just go on there. Give me a like, give me a subscribe, help me out, all that goodness. And if you are listening on Spotify, most importantly, if you're listening on Spotify, don't forget to give me a star rating. Underneath my little name, under my picture, there's a star. If you click on the star, it will ask you to rate the podcast from 5 stars to 4 stars. 5 stars to 1 star. 5 stars being the best thing you've ever heard in your life. 1 star being the worst bit of crap you've ever heard in your life. Whatever you feel like is fair. For 1 to 5, it helps me out greatly, because the way Spotify works, the more stars you have and the higher rating you have, the higher up your podcast goes, and then more people on Spotify see your podcast, and then that gives me more listeners. And that's what I do it for. The more listeners and the more people that I get, the more stuff I can do and the more fun I can have. And yeah, the better it is for you in the long run. So if this is your first time listening, welcome. And if it's your 25th, 1000th, or whatever in the future time listening, thank you for listening. Thank you for being for listening, for being a fan. For some unknown reason, why are you listening to this in the year 2485? Maybe the world just dissolved and you found this in a capsule somewhere. If that's the case, then life in 2022 is not that bad. We still dance. We are killing the planet because of climate change. But in all fairness, we haven't discovered aliens yet. So we don't know what we're doing. So please don't judge us. If you're listening in the year 2485, then yeah. But yeah, thank you for listening from the future. If you're listening in the present, thank you too. Like I said, if you're new or you're an old fan, again, thank you for listening. It means a lot. I do like to have a joke, and I really like to have fun, because that's kind of the whole point, is have a joke, have fun, take the piss, just waffle. It's great. I should have called this the Waffler. That's what I should have called the podcast, not the Nerdstalgic. I should have called it the Waffle Podcast, because that's all I do is waffle. I should be ending it right now, but I'm still talking. So I'm going to end it now. I'm going to stop talking. As always, I hope you have a good day, have a good time. All is well. Thank you for listening, and thank you for listening to the Nerdstalgic podcast. It means a world to me, and thank you for taking some time out of your day to listen to me ramble. So, as always, thank you very much, guys, for listening. I'll catch you in the next one. Bye-bye.